Alright, and we're back. Part of the reason I wanted to do that, take that break, was also because I needed to move some stuff off of one of my two recording drives because I was running out of room. So I ended up moving about 300 and something, I think 362 gigabytes worth of files off of my E drive onto my R drive. Now I'm doing the same for 480 gigabytes worth of files off of my J drive. That includes the hour 45 minutes I just recorded of Legend of the Gaia. I'm actually at a point in the game now where I've never been before. I've never been able to get past that whatever was the ravine area where you fight the three Delilis, whatever to call them, people. So it's all brand new now. Alright, so, before we stopped, I was working on trying to get all this stuff, all the changes to propagate throughout the code by trying to find all the errors. And we found quite a few, and we fixed them, and I'm sure there's probably still some other areas where we need to fix things. And expand as well to account for new stuff, so let's go and rebuild it anyway and see if there are any more errors. Sometimes errors will hide until you fix something and then you'll find more of them. It doesn't usually happen. It usually happens when you have too many errors. Not usually when you don't have very many at all. But we got an error, so let's see what happens. Syntax error. Where at though? Oh, over here. So actually this should be N space. And this one should be ST by. So I have no clue if that would actually work or not. Not only in principle, but in actual practice, because we changed so many things. That's one of the main things I don't like about programming, and that is that when you change something that's like a fundamental change, like what we did with cargo, and adding the sizes to the items and all that, which causes you to have to change a lot of code elsewhere in the program, as we have seen here. It just really gets kind of hairy, because what happens is that now we have a successful build, so that's fine, but I can guarantee you there's at least probably 7 places within the code that I've yet to get to where the code actually doesn't work because of these changes, but not in a way that would cause the compiler to error out. And there's probably also places within the code itself that we've added that will error out. It's just a really brutal process when you go to change large amounts of code in a large program. Well, this isn't really a large program, but we're getting there, I think. Let me see, how many lines of code do we have in message processing here? So we're at 5,437 lines of code for just message processing.cpp. I had a stupid thing here where I'd actually not changed the names of these from combat EXP because I'd actually just copied this down here. And so it was frigate kills, then EXP, 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 blah 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 blah. I'm actually going to modify this sleep. It's still a little bit too long. Let's go down to 650. Gonna knock off a whole 2/10 of a second. Alright, it's 2/100ths of a second. I'm not really sure anymore. And I think 100 milliseconds is 1/10 of a second. So I want them to be displayed in a, not in just like a, instantly displayed or Spitfire display, but I want them to be displayed quicker than slowly, or even moderately fast, or moderately slow, or whatever. I want to be able to see them being displayed on the screen one by one, so the players have enough time to analyze as they're going through, but also at a reasonable pace. And I don't think the 850 was reasonable at all. Well, it was getting close, but it's still a little bit too slow. Let's see. SS mission. Now we gotta take some time to look over the code that we use to store items. Essentially, though, what's going to happen is that we're going to have a separate store function for ships. So like I mentioned, ships are going to be stored differently, and we're actually going to go ahead and add that in too, since we're working on storage stuff that fits in with all the work that we're doing. So, what's one more thing to be changed that could possibly just cause all kinds of hell? So I'm going to go to, actually be back over here. Or actually, first, we need to actually make the distinction between the two. So we need to go to the SINV class. Yeah. Except the CPP is not open, so we need to open it. Okay. Where the hell did it go? Now the H is missing. The heck is going on? There we go. Okay, so okay, so no distinction here, but what we do want to do is make a distinction in station and in ship eventually, but for now ships are not going to be able to store other ships. That would open up an exploit, if you will, that would allow people to store a ship inside of a ship inside of a ship inside of a ship, etc. in infinity, and kind of get by the size limitation. So you could have, a ship that fits within your station cargo, but then you can also have, an infinite number of ships inside of that ship, and it would also make it'd make a nightmare out of trying to keep all those ships properly saved and whatnot. So I'm also thinking of when we do add to ships, to add a thing in for the station that says that you cannot have a ship that has equipment in it, items in the cargo hold stored. It'll just remove those things out and put them in the cargo hold, if possible, and if not, then you can't store that ship. Kind of annoying, yes, but probably necessary. And we don't even have the station open, do we? Gotta open it up here. Okay. So we got the station inventory. Technically this should go underneath everything, underneath the functions here. So we're going to add a vector of ships and called S station ship hold. Alright, so what's going to happen now is when we try to store an item, if the item type is a ship, it'll have a different thing. It'll go to SS hold and we'll have a different code. And we're going to do that right now. Okay, so if I type, or if type, I guess, equals, or does not equal ship. And eventually we'll have to do an item type 2 with this, because then because ships will be part of equipment, and we'll have to say equipment and then item type 2 ship. Now for ships, we're going to have to pull the information. Well, no. This is interesting. How to go about this. I guess we could send a reference to the ship there, I suppose. That could probably be the easiest way to handle it. Yeah, let's do it that way. We'll send a reference as a parameter, ship reference, and then we can just load whatever ship we want to try and store into there. So we should also do checking outside of this function. I don't want to do checking inside of it. Find all references. Yeah, we got lots of stuff everywhere for this one. Alright. So okay. Well, no, it'll go through the same process, I think. Let's see. And here's what I mean by, well, to set up a separate one, because this one's item and only does equipment data, so we'll have to have one for weapons and one for ships. Eventually, though, that'll all be able to fall underneath this heading. And matter of fact, maybe we should just add it all there as I speak here. So if we do it now, I think it'd be a lot less work, if it's even possible to imagine that, to add them now rather than later. I mean, we're talking huge structural changes to pretty much everything that's in the code, but or maybe not everything, but a lot of it. But at the same time, it's going to save way more time on the back-end work later on than if we did then, because the code's still pretty much smaller. As things get more complicated and complex, it might be hard to add the things I want to do. So See, now we get into this whole thing too about like missile launchers and whatnot. So I was talking about the other night. I don't want to add too much stuff right now. So I do. I'll spend my last week working on this, just adding things in rather than being able to test. So for now we'll leave it like this, and then for version 5, or maybe 6, I think 0.6a, we'll go back through and do all those changes. For now we're just going to leave it like this. So this change that we made with equipment was more than enough, compounded by the changes with the ship cargo and changes to a lot of the other things I made so far the past couple days. That's already going to eat a significant amount of testing time off of next week. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to put in one for SS weapon and SS ship. But they'll all go to the same SS item in station class. So what we'll just do is we'll take this, copy it, and we'll paste it twice. Save time that way. We'll need to go to game.h and add them there as well. So SS item, where are you? Where are you, bloody function? There you are. Hiding in a place where you probably shouldn't be because you're not really lined up properly. So SS item becomes SS ship. And the weapon. So store, station, store item, station, store, ship, station, store, weapon. Then the other one, the SII or whatever it's called, the store or install function, I'll probably have to do something with, a little different with that now. Just a little bit. I think it was already kind of segmented by type, but we'll have to add some extra code, I think. So now we go back over here. Alright, so now here's the thing. We gotta determine if we've bought it or that if we're, well, we'll say for now that you can only store bought ships. You can't store a ship that you have. You can only store a ship once you bought one to replace it with. In a future version, I'm not really sure when, maybe 5, but probably sometime during the development of 0.6. I'll be adding an option to the station that'll allow you to freely manipulate your cargo storage, so you'll be able to take things out and add things as you want, including ships. But for now, it's just going to be when you buy something. I am going to add an option to sell certain items to the station, though. For right now, just asteroid minings, whatever they're going to be called. I'm not sure if I'm going to call it rock ore or what. It's going to be similar process to Eve, though, where you mine the rock and then you have to process it for minerals. So I'll probably call it ore. So, ship data. Now, what I'm thinking here is we have to do this different for ship. because you're not going to be able to stack ships. Those are the only things you won't be able to stack. So we don't need this for 1, and we don't need to do the for loop for 2, because we just added in. But the other thing is that we have to deal differently with how this works, because there's different information that has to be located and gotten, and I don't think we can do it with this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this out of here, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a new function in station store s ship, and we're just going to send through the I code only. Alright, so back over to station. Void ss ship int I code. And what I'm going to do is we're just going to steal. Yeah, I don't need this anymore, so we're not going to bring it over there. Go ahead and get that re-established. I guess we'll put underneath here. Void station ss ship int I code. I'm just going to go over to ship, and we're going to steal the initialization function essentially. Because this has all the stuff we need for the ship information. But I gotta find it first. It to be hidden. That's interesting. I actually used those at one point in time. Huh. Must have been a hell of a long time ago. Haven't used curly braces on my case statements for years. I used to do it as a means of being able to tell where things were, and for my huge switches I was doing with the station menu on 0.4. I had a huge menu, station market menu, that was it contained, I think, maybe a total of 25 to 35 switches that went into other switches. Total of about I'd say probably close to 180 different cases throughout all the switches in that class. Probably a total of about 13,000 lines of code. It was just a huge mess. Alright, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to go over to here with it. Paste it in. And go, let's see, dot push back dot ship. So this is what we're going to be doing if you choose to store the ship. Ship that you've bought. Now if you have bought a ship and you choose to use the ship that you bought and not store it and store your old ship, there's going to be a different code that's going to be used for that. Because what's going to have to happen is that the stuff is going to have to be moved if possible. And it's just, that's going to be a whole other thing too. So we're going to have to be able to figure out how to deal with that, but we'll get to that in a second. Dot set as name. Again, there's a huge flaw in the way this is set up, and that is that if you save your ship with damage, when it loads again, whatever your damaged ship values were is what the new max will be. Oh, never mind, we did add those, didn't I? Wow. I have not been actually using them yet. So I guess we'll use them then. DS_S. Really? Well, that's interesting. Well, we'll fix that. Of course, it'll probably cause some other issue somewhere. Maybe a circular reference or something. Those are always fun to deal with. Alright, so either we don't actually have them yet, or we do and they're named differently. Either way, we have to figure out what. or rather which. So, okay, we haven't actually added the code to get it yet. So, float get sm shield. Do we even have the database code though for that as well? Let's see. Get s data. Not station. I want ship data. I want get s results. Yep, there we go. And no, we don't even get that stuff yet, no wonder. So I've added them. Okay, so I've added it to there, but probably not to the ship, actual ship. Okay, yeah. So let's add them here as well. Or no, we don't have to. From the database, okay. So we actually don't need to do that. Well, no, we need that. What we don't need is the maxes. Not for this one, anyway. Rather, we do need them, but they need to be set to shield. Because we're taking this from the database, not from the save file. Duh. Just getting a little bit ahead of myself. Is it set or update for those? Oh, LHP. Alright. That should actually get set by automatically. Now for this, is it present in the... Yes, it is. Cargo. So 'tis. Alright, so we're going to send a pull through here. So in other words, if this ship is the one you just bought, which means there's nothing installed on it, then use this code. Else, if not bought, in other words, this is a ship that you owned and you are now taking that ship and storing it, and things get a hell of a lot more complicated. Yes, they do. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to have a temporary ship object with which to store the new ship in. Alright, so Alright, so we got the message in there explaining what's going to happen. So now what we need to do is we need to take the temp ship, or ship temp, whatever we called it. Temp ship. And figure out how we're going to do this. So we obviously want to take the information from the ship object that we send through, which I still have to add. Well, let's not actually pass it through. Let's get it from inside of this class, or inside of this method, or inside of this function. What we will pass through, though, is the player class. Alright, so temp ship equals mPlayer dot alright, so temp ship is loaded up here. So now I need to go through and we need to essentially go through and look at the weapons that are equipped, as well as well, no. Let's put this on the outside so I can use that for both, instead of just the bot section. Alright, so what we want to do is we want to say, we want to check, or catalog the size of everything on the ship in terms of weapons. Maybe also cargo as well. But for now, we're just going to stick with the weapons and whatnot. So we'll need a few more variables here. Oh, we already have temp space, never mind. We'll use that then. So temp space equals 0.0. Zero it out. Now temp ship dot, or let's see, let's do it this way. If temp ship dot lbanks dot size is greater than 0, for I2 equals 0. I2 is less than lbanks or temp ship dot lbanks dot size. I2 plus and then temp space plus equals temp ship lbanks dot at I dot HP weapon dot get I'm willing to add that to weapon as well. Something that I didn't do there. I think we added. No, we didn't add it. Yeah, no, we didn't add it. So we'll add it here now. Where did I put it on the? Let's see. It is after class or tech level, whichever first. So we'll put it on the indenter. It doesn't really matter where it's at here as long as we set it. So weapon SG2 equals DS underscore W dot get weapon GS RSG2. And that is there. So we just need to add to weapon so now we need to add the float and add these to all the I weapons here. Really? That's interesting. And so we essentially do that for all the other weapons here. But it's probably going to be about time to take another break here. You can already tell how sluggish I am with coding. It's just going to get worse from now on. I've actually got it broken down to about 3 segments for when my mind really starts going to hell and back during these all-nighters, and that is between 5:30, which it is, and 6:30, 11:30 and 1:30, and then 8 o'clock and 9:30 p.m. on both of those. Those time periods are when I can really start to get spaced out and hazy, and are generally times that I don't want to be touching the code. As you saw earlier, I started adding things that weren't needed until I caught myself. I've had to fix problems that have caused by coding during these time periods because I do things that are stupid and don't realize it, and then go back after I find some bugs and like, oh, why is that like that? And why is it like that? And like, oh well, I did it when I was half asleep. So, yeah. So for now, I'm just gonna go and take a break and see if I can't wake myself up somehow. But until then, it's GOL, and I will see you later. How much later, I have no clue. Probably more than an hour, though. Alright, and we're back to continue the coding portion of the developer's vlog. It is very, very much later. I forget exactly when I stopped, but it's now about 11:45 a.m. And I've actually had some problems, so things aren't open the way they were. I was trying to move some files around, and for some reason, let me get this closer here. My computer, for some reason, just stopped functioning. It actually happened a couple of times. Trying to move a file or some files from a couple files from my J drive to my R drive. Not sure why, but so things are not quite. There's no yellow lines indicating that something changed, or green from changes that have been saved. So I'm gonna be working on memory here to see where we're at specifically. So I believe that I had built a successful build, and that I was looking for areas to fix, or something like that. Alright, so we got a failed build. Station ship doesn't take. That's right, we're working on this code here. That's right. Okay, so if not bots, beginning exchange. So we're exchanging the weapons and whatnot. Alright, so what we need to do is we need to do this methodically, instead of how I was doing this here. Since we're going to be checking each weapon in turn, we have to actually check each weapon. So instead of doing this, we need to do something new. So we have temp ship, and so I guess shold is going to be shold dot size minus 1 is going to be the ship that we are changing to. So we want to check and say so if temp ship lbanks dot size is greater than 0. We also want to do a check to see if the number of lasers installed on the current ship is higher or lower than the ship that you're changing to. What will happen is if it's there's more weapons installed than can be installed on the new ship, then you just go through the hardpoints array or vector and take each one sequentially until you reach the point where the new ship is full, and then you just take the rest of the store. So, but we also have to check based on the class as well. So we're gonna have like a 4 or 5 layer of checking here. So it's gonna be pretty complicated, but it has to be that way, at least for the moment, until I can figure out maybe a way to get it a little more simpler. So if temp ship has laser banks, and if that is less than or equal to shold.at .get LHP So in this case we're saying if the number of weapons installed on the temp ship is less than or equal to the number of weapons that can be installed on the new ship, then we continue to this. I think we'll go ahead and put a comment here to that effect. So if old ship has less than equal to number of laser hard points